Welcome to the DCTV News at Noon program. I'm Kelsey Kiesling.
And I'm Kendra Cook. Dolores County Broadcasting Network is the producer of DCTV with support from the Southwest TV Translator Association.
If you have a news topic or event you'd like to see covered, give us a call. The studio number is 677-4119.
Today's show runs Thursday at noon, 3 and 6 p.m. and again is re-aired later throughout the weekend with the other weekday broadcast replays. Today's June 28th, 2018. And now the news at noon.
Reported by the Cortez Journal with a photo courtesy of the 416 National Incident Management Organization team. Weather has re-emerged as a key ally for the 416 fire, with firefighters battling not only the blaze but temperatures that reached the mid-90s Wednesday, and the situation is not expected to improve Thursday. In addition, Wednesday's relative humidity was in the single digits. The combination of weather factors allowed the blaze to expand north into steep, inaccessible terrain in the Hermosa Creek Wilderness, according to the news release issued yesterday night by the National Incident Management Organization team now managing the fire. On the west side of the fire, ground and aerial burnouts were used to remove fuel from the hand line to the fire's edge. The burnout secured portions of the fire line along Junction Creek Road. Fire officials didn't expect much nighttime relief, with relative humidity remaining in the single digits and lows going down only to the 50s, according to the NIMO news release. A red flag warning was issued from noon to 8 p.m. Wednesday and again from noon to 8 p.m. today. A red flag warning means high temperatures, low humidity, and winds will combine to create high fire danger with a good possibility for rapid fire growth. The National Weather Service expects the weather to reach the mid-90s again today.
From the Journal, updates on the Burrow Fire, photo courtesy Patrick Seekins. The Burrow Fire grew an estimated 50 acres this past Tuesday, but remained at 40% containment, firefighters said. Most of that growth occurred near the junction between the Bear Creek and Little Bear Creek trails, Public Information Officer Andy Lyons said. The fire was more active Tuesday than it was over the weekend, which he blamed on a brief alignment of higher temperatures, drier fuel, and wind blowing behind the flames as they moved uphill. The fire remained 40% contained as hand and chipper crews continued to secure the fire lines on its western perimeter. Lyons said he could only give a rough estimate on how much the fire grew Tuesday because no infrared mapping flights were conducted that day. He said an infrared flight was planned for last night, which should allow more accuracy. The fire is estimated to cover 3,829 acres. He expected more fire activity Wednesday afternoon as temperatures in the Bear Creek Trail region climbed into the 70s. And in fact, yesterday afternoon, a Nixle alert was issued notifying residents in Montezuma County that the Burrow Fire is more active today. Smoke may be visible from different areas around the county. The small Type 3 crew of firefighters still assigned to the borough are focusing on tidying up the fire lines, Lyons said, removing fuel sources and improving roads near the south and northwest divisions, rather than putting out the existing flames. Since the June 16 and 17 rains slowed the fire spread, crews have largely relied on natural containment, helped by the rocky, high-elevation terrain on the fire's northeast side. But if the fire does flare up again, Lyons said hand crews are making sure the fire lines will be ready for firefighters to use for a fresh attack on the flames. The estimated cost of the fire has grown to $2.6 million, up from $2.5 million on Monday. About 57 personnel were working on it as of Wednesday morning, but Lyons said he expected that number to continue to fall. Members of the interagency emergency management team that responded to the fire commit to 14 days at each wildfire, and then they reach the 14-day mark. They reached it on Monday. But Lyons said it's not unusual for fire crews to stay longer than 14 days if needed. He expected some crews to remain at the Burrow Fire for at least another week. As of Wednesday morning, the National Weather Service predicted sunny, warm weather for the San Juan Mountains through Saturday with no precipitation in the forecast. Thursday's forecast called for sunny weather with a high of 80 degrees and a southwest wind reaching up to 15. The San Juan National Forest has reopened most trails and roads, including the shoreline of McPhee and House Creek campgrounds and the House Creek Road and boat ramp. Some areas near the Burrow and 416 fires remain closed to the public entry, including the segments of the Colorado Trail from Molas Pass to the Junction Creek terminus. Bureau of Land Management lands and the rest of the forest will remain under Stage 2 fire restrictions. Check with the local authorities on which trails and roads are closed before you visit.
According to the Durango Herald, it has often been said that when temperatures go up, so does crime. That may be the case at the La Plata County Jail, which exceeded capacity earlier this month, forcing the sheriff to ask for a judicial order allowing him to release low-level offenders to prevent overcrowding. Sheriff Sean Smith also asked local law enforcement to start issuing more personal recognizance bonds in which suspects promise to show up in court or be subject to a bail penalty, instead of taking so many offenders to jail. It's really just ensuring that we're utilizing the jail for what it really needs to be utilized for, Smith said, that we have space for people that are felons and violent and that cause some kind of risk to the community, and not for every misdemeanor offense that we can find. The jail reached capacity in mid-June when it had 228 inmates, 11 more than its listed capacity of 217 inmates. 19 inmates were released after being reviewed by a judge. As of yesterday, the jail was housing 190 inmates. Chief District Judge Jeffrey Wilson issued an order June 15th allowing the jail to refuse housing certain criminal offenders if it has more than 200 prisoners already in custody. Those offenders include anyone arrested for a nonviolent offense or a drug offense that is considered a Class 4 felony or lower, anyone with a county court warrant for failure to appear with a bond of $10,000 or less, and anyone with a district court warrant with a bond of $25,000 or less. The jail still accepts suspects with out-of-district warrants, no bond warrants, people who face probation revocation, and all defendants arrested for domestic violence.
From the Journal, courtesy photo and credit, Kingman Daily Miner. On Tuesday, the Cortez City Council voted unanimously to approve a contract with John Doherty of Kingman, Arizona, making him their new city manager. Doherty was one of 5 finalists the city has been considering since former city manager Shane Hale's departure in May. Most recently from Kingman, Arizona, he has served as city manager in 5 previous towns, 3 of which fired him or failed to renew his contract. His first day as Cortez city manager will be July 9th. The contract that the council approved on Tuesday includes a $106,000 annual salary for Doherty, just under the $106,304 salary that Hale received in 2017. The council didn't spend much time discussing the contract during Tuesday's regular meeting, but Mayor Karen Sheik said it was the result of extensive discussions between council members and Doherty in previous executive sessions. The council held a 3rd executive session on the city manager position just before the regular meeting on Tuesday. Although a piece of paper announcing the session was posted at the entrance to City Hall on Tuesday, it was not included in the workshop agenda on the city website. Sheik said interim manager Chris Burkett would be available to help Doherty settle in, and she offered her personal help to his wife Ruth Anna Doherty during the couple's move to Cortez. In an open house on June 4th, Doherty said he is fiscally conservative and has left each town where he's worked in better economic shape than when he found it. He said he has learned from the experience of being fired in Reedsburg, Wisconsin, and Hebron, Ohio, where he said a lack of communication contributed to his conflicts with the city councils and does not plan to repeat his mistakes in Cortez. He blamed his latest contract non-renewal in Kingman on a new city council that, quote, wanted to go in a completely different direction from him. At the open house, he said his first priority as the Cortez city manager would be to make sure the town has enough water rights to make it through potential years of drought.
According to the Durango Herald, as recently as a year ago, the public school system in the nation's capital was being hailed as a shining example of successful urban education reform and a template for districts across the country. Now the situation in the District of Columbia could not be more different. After a series of rapid-fire scandals, including one about rigged graduation rates, Washington's school system has gone from a point of pride to perhaps the largest public embarrassment of Mayor Muriel Bowser's tenure. This stunning reversal has left school administrators and city officials scrambling for answers and pledging to regain the public's trust. A decade after a restructuring that stripped the decision-making powers of the Board of Education and placed the system under mayoral control, city schools in 2017 were boasting rising test scores and a record graduation rate for high schools of 73%, compared with 53% in 2011. Glowing news articles cited examples such as Ballot High School, a campus in a low-income neighborhood, where the entire 2017 graduating class applied for college. Then everything unraveled. An investigation by WAMU, the local NPR station revealed that about half of those Ballot graduates had missed more than 3 months of school and should not have graduated due to chronic truancy. A subsequent inquiry revealed a system-wide culture that pressured teachers to favor graduation rates over all else, with salaries and job security tied to specific metrics. The internal investigation concluded that more than 1/3 of the 2017 graduating class should not have received diplomas due to truancy or improper steps taken by teachers or administrators to cover the absences. In one egregious example, investigators found that attendance records at Dunbar High School had been altered 4,000 times to mark absent students as present. The school system is now being investigated by both the FBI and the U.S. Education Department, while the D.C. Council has repeatedly called for answers and accountability. And now let's take a look at the weather.
Let's look at the national weather map first. NOAA is showing well above average temperatures are expected from the Rockies eastward to the upper Great Lakes. Locally, heavy rainfall is possible over coastal New England as well as the southeastern U.S. Severe thunderstorms and flash flooding are likely across the north central U.S. today as the west and southwest remain mostly hot and dry. Our regional continues to suffer under the red flag warnings. NWS reports breezy winds, high temperatures, and dry vegetation will produce critical fire weather conditions across most of the western Colorado and eastern Utah area this afternoon and evening. A red flag warning is in effect for those areas. Just a reminder, large fire spread rates are possible on existing and new fire starts, making them difficult to control. The critical fire weather conditions will continue for most of the area Friday afternoon and evening as well, and the risk of critical fire weather conditions continues into Saturday for most of our area. A broad trough moving through the Great Basin and northern Rockies will cause our high pressure systems to tighten and continue producing gusty winds across the area each afternoon and early evening. Though the maximum wind band will run just north of the Utah and Colorado northern borders, the flow will be strong enough there to produce red flag criteria wind gusts across much of the forecast area. Looking ahead, there will be a slight chance of afternoon and evening thunderstorms next week, Tuesday and Wednesday afternoon, but mostly in the mountains with little precipitation expected, accompanied by those gusty winds. Our local weather outlook from DCTV: today sunny with a high near 89 degrees, breezy with a south-southwest wind 10 to 20 miles an hour, with gusts as high as 35. Tonight mostly clear with a low around 54 degrees. Breezy with a southwest wind 15 to 20 miles an hour, becoming south-southwest 5 to 10 after midnight. Winds could gust as high as 30. Friday sunny with a high near 85. Breezy with a south-southwest wind 10 to 15 miles an hour, increasing to 15 to 20 miles an hour in the afternoon. Winds could still gust as high as 30 miles an hour. Friday night mostly clear with a low around 54. Breezy with a southwest wind 15 to 20 miles an hour, becoming south-southeast to 5 to 10 miles an hour after midnight. And still we'll see those winds gust as high as 30 miles an hour. So hold on to your hat. The weekend weather should settle down just a bit, hopefully making your outdoor activities enjoyable. Saturday sunny with a high near 85 degrees. South-southeast winds 5 to 10 miles an hour, becoming west-northwest in the afternoon. Saturday night clear with a low around 54. Sunny Sunday with a high near 87. Sunday night mostly clear with a low around 55. Monday sunny with a high near 89. Monday night partly cloudy with a low around 58. Tuesday mostly sunny with a high near 87. Tuesday night partly cloudy with a low around 57. And right now the 4th of July is looking to be sunny and hot with a high near 86. And now back to the news.
According to the Durango Herald, everyone knows that exercise in general makes you happier, stronger, and more energetic. We hear it ad nauseum, especially this time of year. But what if fitness did the very opposite? In other words, if exercise brought on depression, injuries, and lack of motivation? If that happens, what's going on? It's called overtraining syndrome, said Sabrina Joe, a senior exercise scientist for the American Council on Exercise. The first sign of overtraining is when the performance of the exercise starts decreasing, she says. Additional symptoms can be things like sleep disturbances, lack of motivation, and moodiness. But don't bag your recently kicked off fitness routine just yet. Overtraining syndrome mostly happens to elite athletes, said Joe Park, an orthopedic surgeon with the University of Virginia Health System, but it can also strike dedicated amateur athletes, such as long-distance runners. Sometimes, with overtraining injuries related to running, the pain subsides during the run as the soft tissue, like muscles and tendons, loosens up during movement. So instead of examining the pain only during the activity, watch for it after the activity is done, he says. If pain doesn't subside in 10 to 14 days, something might be amiss and should be assessed by a doctor, he says.
From the Durango Herald, photo Jerry McBride. People caught flying a drone over a wildfire could face federal felony charges if a bill that Colorado's congressional delegation introduced Wednesday becomes law. I've heard firsthand from the men and women fighting fires in Colorado about the problems and risks they encounter with unauthorized drones flying over wildfires, U.S. Senator Cory Gardner, Republican of Colorado, said in a news release. It puts the lives of firefighting personnel at risk and enhances the threat to public safety by causing the grounding of aerial firefighting assets because the airspace over fire isn't secure. Senator Michael Bennet, Democrat of Colorado, and Representative Scott Tipton, Republican of Cortez, introduced the bill with Gardner. The Securing Airspace for Emergency Responders Act, introduced in both the House and Senate, would make it a federal felony to fly an unauthorized unmanned aircraft system, or UAS, over a wildfire. Unauthorized drone flights over wildfires have been a problem in the San Juan National Forest. A report of an unauthorized drone came in on the first day of the 416 fire. Firefighting operations were disrupted at least 4 times in 4 days by drones during the Lightner Creek fire in June of 2017, according to the La Plata County Sheriff's Office. During the fire, planes were ready to drop retardant on the section of the fire moving towards Durango when they were grounded. 2 planes had to jettison about 1,600 gallons of retardant worth between $8,000 to $10,000. Chris Tipton, Fire Management Officer for the U.S. Forest Service, told the Durango Herald last June that pilots cannot see drones and any collision could harm an aircraft or a pilot. It is against federal law to resist or interfere with firefighters' efforts to extinguish fires. The Federal Aviation Administration also has rules that pertain to unmanned aircraft systems on National Forest System lands, including flying in no-fly zones. According to the U.S. Forest Service, in 2016, firefighters had to suspend operations at least 13 times because of unauthorized drone flights. In a news release, Bennett said Coloradans understand the risks that recreational drone activity creates for our communities, and Senator Gardner, Congressman Tippmann, and I will work to prohibit this unauthorized drone use to help our first responders do their jobs. Gardner is the sponsor of the bill in the Senate, and Senator Bennett is the lead co-sponsor. Tipton, the sponsor in the House, said not only does this prevent the fire from being suppressed as quickly, but the firefighters on the ground are also left without the air support they may need to create an exit route in the event of an emergency. Casey Contras, press secretary for Gardner, said the bipartisan bill is not unusual for the Colorado delegation. Senator Gardner and Senator Bennett have the best bipartisan relationship of any 2 senators in Congress, he said. This week, Contras said the senators are also cooperated to introduce an amendment to the Farm Bill to support work in the Department of Agriculture to research and to combat 2 diseases that threaten the hops crops important to Colorado's microbrewers.
According to the Durango Herald, viruses that sneak into the brain just might play a role in Alzheimer's. A scientist reported last Thursday in a provocative study that promises to reignite some long-debated theories about what triggers the mind-robbing disease. The findings don't prove viruses cause Alzheimer's, nor do they suggest it's contagious. But a team led by researchers at New York's Mount Sinai Health System found that certain viruses, including 2 extremely common herpes viruses, affect the behavior of genes involved in Alzheimer's. The idea that infections earlier in life might somehow set the stage for Alzheimer's decades later has simmered at the edge of mainstream medicine for years. It's been overshadowed by the prevailing theory that Alzheimer's stems from sticky plaques that clog the brain. Last Thursday's study has even some specialists who never embraced the infection connection, saying it's time for a closer look, especially as attempts to block those so-called beta amyloid plaques have failed. The study also fits with mounting evidence that how aggressively the brain's immune system defends itself against viruses or other germs may be riskier than an actual infection, said Alzheimer's specialist Dr. Rudolph Tanzi of Massachusetts General Hospital. With Harvard colleague Dr. Robert Moore, Tanzi has performed experiments showing that sticky beta amyloid captures invading germs by engulfing them, and that's why the plaque starts forming in the first place.
Reported in the Durango Herald, an AP photo. A jury has convicted a 36-year-old Oklahoma man of taking part in a double slaying tied to a marijuana smuggling ring in northern Colorado. Samuel Pinney was found guilty Wednesday of several counts, including first-degree murder, in the October 2015 deaths of 23-year-old Joshua Foster and 22-year-old Zachary Moore. Pinney faces life in prison when he's sentenced today, Thursday. He was one of 5 people arrested during an investigation that concluded the group, along with Moore and Foster, ran a marijuana smuggling ring between Colorado and Oklahoma. Police say Moore and Foster appear to have tried to branch out on their own, using Pinney's marijuana connections, but cutting him out of the deal. The 2 victims were found dead in a burning truck.
And now for the Dolores County Sheriff's Roundup for the week of June 18th through the 24th. Local resident had a bear in his chicken coop. Department of Wildlife was contacted and responded. Report of injured deer, San Miguel County. They asked us to call. Department of Wildlife was contacted. Report of an expired deer in ditch by a resident's home. CDOT was notified. Sheriff's deputy requested for a welfare check. They responded and showed up throughout the day. Sheriff's office got report of a juvenile who was in a conflict with their parents. An officer responded and helped resolve the issue. That concludes today's roundup. Stay tuned for continued updates.
Today's High Canyon Country happenings. June 29th, there's an art reception hosted by Laura Branca, MFA, from 4 to 6 p.m. at the Farm Bistro in Cortez. New landscapes and abstract paintings. Check a sampling out on the Farm Bistro Cortez Facebook page. And June 30th, it's Mancos Grand Summer Nights with the Afrobeatniks from 5 to 8 p.m. There will be a gallery crawl, face painting, magnetic poetry, interactive art, and great food from Zuma Natural Foods and Sweetwater Gypsies Pizza, available from 5 to 8. We'll also have a special treat from the Mancos Creative Movement Kids Dance Troupe. Keep your evening going by attending the Mancos Valley Resources 2nd Annual Mancos Valley River Film Fest at the Mancos Opera House. And this weekend is the second race weekend at the Fairgrounds Speedway in Cortez. Friday, the pits open at 4 p.m., grandstands open at 5:30, drivers meeting at 6:30, and racing by 7:30. And again, they'll be racing Saturday. Pits open at 4, grandstands open at 5:30, drivers meeting at 6, and racing starts at 7. General admission is $10. Come cheer on your local home team favorite. And all of the happenings are posted on our DCTV News at Noon Facebook page, along with our YouTube channel replays, weather, and original stories and local posts. To share your event or information, contact us, dcbnnews@gmail.com, or call the station 970-677-4119.
Thanks for tuning in. News at Noon airs at noon Monday through Thursday and then is rebroadcast at 3 and 6 p.m. on each of those days. The weekday news shows are then replayed throughout the weekend as well.
And be sure to check us out on Facebook. It's DCTV News at Noon. Please like us there and share it with a friend.
For Kendra Cook with DCTV and the News at Noon program out of Dove Creek, USA, I'm Kelsey Kiesling. Thanks for watching.